Do I want to be an astronaut? Could I be an astronaut? Does a rocket even have wheelchair access? Don't know. Yesterday, a man cycled up to me. I'm on my way to work, so in shirt and tie mode. He stops in front of me, blocking the path, and says, "I just wanted to say thanks. Yesterday, I was having a bad day. Then I saw you and realised my life's not that bad." Then he cycled off, and I'm left dabbing my finger at my broken dignity on the floor like spilled salt on a cafe countertop. Is there space to write any of that on you? I probably should introduce Pip at this point, so you don't wonder why I'm just talking to a clipboard. Say hello, Pip. Hello. I'm going to put Pip back down and we'll talk to her again later. Because I don't want to be like this, in this chair, talking to a lackey of the government begging for benefits. I'm not just a room with seats, you know. Give me a movie and I'll be a cinema. Do you understand? Pip, I just want you to listen, but you won't. Why? Oh, hi. You're so welcome. I should probably introduce myself. My name's Stephen. It's great to have you here in my flat. It's been a while since I've seen so many people. Don't worry, you don't need to introduce yourselves. But this is the first time for many of you that we've met. So there's a good chance you'll be wondering, what happened? Why the chair? That's okay. Loads of people ask me. I've been asked so many times. In the street, in a lift, just after Freddie sang, "Who wants to live forever?" at my dad's funeral. But I get to choose when I answer that question. And when. On my terms. So I might answer in a bit. But first, I have a question for you. What? Did you just think I'd invited you here to just listen? No. You've got some work to do first. Imagine you have £5,000 right now in your hand and you decide to give it to someone. Go on. Imagine it. Feel it. It's before we went cashless. It feels weird, doesn't it, to hold money again in your hand, but there's some conditions. It's a lot of money, right? Could make a difference. What would you want to know first? Would you want them to explain in tiny detail every part of their life that was difficult so you felt compelled to give them money? Or would you want to know how that money could improve their lives, how it might help them work towards achieving their potential? It's a tough question, right? I don't know what you're looking at me for. I don't have the answer either. But it is a question I sit here and think about with you in my flat, waiting for my disability benefit assessment, rereading my application for PIP or personal independence payment, as you might have heard her called. The government scheme to supposedly help with the long-term costs of having a disability. PIP. She has so many questions, each one somersaults on top of the other like a cheerleading pyramid. Strength in numbers, but they're designed to not let you take the load. By the last question, you're surrounded by a heap of answers, broken resolve, and pom-poms. It's not the first time I've done this. It won't be the last, and if I'm honest, I am sick of talking to her. What was the advice I was told the first time I applied for benefits? Oh yeah, stop being so stubborn. I remember when my by-the-hour solicitor gave that advice. It was 20 years ago in a Morrison's cafe, and I was trying to sail the ocean on a phone book. Actually, my solicitor was okay. I liked him. I knew his heart was in his chest, not in his wallet. My mum. She'd hired him to help with my first appeal of being denied disability benefits. I'm not sure why we were in Morrison's, but the cafe with its 5-item lunches for 99p was a distraction. He banged a sachet of sugar against his mug of tea and pulled the top off it with a flourish like one of those blokes who yanks a tablecloth and all the crockery stays where it is. I thought, that is an odd way to open a sachet of sugar. He clearly liked an audience. He looked like a cross between my granddad making an effort on a Sunday and one of those ruddy fellas who go to Henley Regatta, you know, shabby blazer, kipper tie and burgundy chinos. He poured the sugar in his tea, stirred twice. Anti-clockwise. I mean, who does that? And then he said, we can win this appeal, but you're gonna have to stop being so stubborn. Pride doesn't turn into pounds. I mean, it was a nifty catchphrase, I'll give him that. Mum was there too. She hadn't said a word. She just gripped everything. The table, her mug, her tongue from saying what she really thought. She wasn't a shouter. She just gripped things. And breathed. I was terrified. She'd never exploded, but I wondered if today would be the day she went full Vesuvius, stopped gripping and let go. But I knew she wouldn't. She was the quiet counterpoint to my anger. Anger at my legs that didn't work. Anger that my brothers were out playing football. Anger that I was laying it all out just to get a few quid to make it easier. In her own way, she was grieving for the ease I once ran through a day. I only found this out later, when I understood that anger wasn't serving me and I started letting people I trust help. The solicitor picked up his papers and shuffled them into order like he was a QC at the Old Bailey. I mean, I guess he was doing it for me. Who else? The old women eating sausage sandwiches were more interested in the brown sauce splodges on their Bella magazine than was what going on here. Still, he was performing and I had to know my part. Basically, sit there, look a bit sad. He rustled his papers some more and said, I know you can shave, your mum knows you can shave, but they don't need to know that. They don't need to know what you can do. He was referring to the form I'd filled in a few months earlier to claim for my disability living allowance, a sort of pre-PIP, teenage PIP, if you want. I hadn't written my answers, more scrawled my fury. I don't need any help, thank you very much. I am perfectly capable of having a fucking shave, shower and shit. Rather unsurprisingly, I received this reply. Dear Mr. Lightbown, we have awarded you the lowest rate of disability living allowance. Your answers indicate you have an adequate level of mobility and need minimal help. I mean, clearly, a 20-year-old who 4 years earlier had been in an accident and then become paralysed thought he was fully independent. But was he? Should he have even had to fill in those questions? Does that sound credible to you? Or were you still, a bit distracted by the chair? That whole trip down Morrison's memory lane and passed you by? You want to know what happened, don't you? Well, I'm still not sure if I'm ready to tell you yet. But what I will tell you though, I used to make reasons up when I was asked about the chair. It's always easier to have an answer ready. I learned that early on. About the same time, I learned people didn't like me making stuff up. I told people I was an underwear model for Calvin Klein and I fell off the catwalk. What do you think? Could you see me in Milan or in a Grattan catalogue? Turns out, pissed up blokes couldn't. Anyway, that fib almost started a fair few fights with blokesman of Lynx Africa and the rejection of 100 potential wives in a Blackburn nightclub. They'd stand opposite me, scraping the salad off their doner kebab onto my wheels. Chilli sauce on their chin. Mate, what are you in that thing for? Out comes the catwalk story, and I'd watch that chilli sauce leer towards me, like an angry lava flow. What are you being a prick for, you twat? You want knocking out that chair? I'm just asking. Funny that I was the one causing offence. Anyway, back to Morrison's. In those days, still so new to this chair, I was a squirrel on the motorway, clutching acorns, tyre either side of me. The solicitor puts his mug down and smiled at me. Took a huge inhale of cafe air and nodded twice. A gesture that said he understood we needed to change tact. Look, Stephen, let's have a look at this question here. Do you need any help with your toilet needs? You wrote no. Is that true? Stephen, we need to give them more than that. You know, maybe he had a point. I'm going to tell you something though. It's not pleasant. A week after returning home from hospital, I'm sat on a commode in the front room. Only the front room is now my bedroom as I can't get upstairs. I lean forward whilst Mum inserts a suppository and she disappears for half an hour. Whilst I don't need to go into detail. On her return, she knocks. As soft as ice cream in summer. She comes back to get rid of the brimming pan of self-esteem I've unloaded. She enters the room and stands with a look of horror on her face. She gasps, then starts to smile, which becomes a giggle, which becomes a full-on belly laugh through a pair of new washing up gloves now clasped to her mouth. I'll be honest, this is an odd and slightly callous thing to be doing. But then she points behind me. I follow her finger with my head and I see lying on the floor the pan for the commode. I look back at my mum and given the room stinks of my rancid expulsion, it's pretty clear that we have not averted disaster. So look, Mr. Sugar Flourish in his Tommy Ketchup chinos has a point when he tells me I neglected to include some details when I filled in the form. 2 hours later, and we're in the council office. Mum, the solicitor, and this stubborn idiot are outside the room of my appeal hearing. On the other side of the door are 3 people who will decide whether my mum will have to get a second job or not. I'm starting to realise that this is not just about my pride. Do you know what? There's still time for one last piece of advice. Let your mum open the door, move a chair for you. You will smile. I know it's hard after what they've put you through, but you will smile. You'll say hello, be kind, push slowly, and be quiet. I'll do the rest. The door opens and he's at the Old Bailey again. We are not going to be here long, he says to the 3 pen holders behind the desk. My client will never walk again. He will need help until the day he dies. They take one look at the chair, at this squirrel in the middle lane, and I'm awarded benefits for life. Dear Mr. Lightbown, the appeal is allowed. You are entitled to the higher rate mobility component for an indefinite period. This is because you are virtually unable to walk. Hang on, sorry. Let me just read that last part again. Virtually. It's because you are virtually unable to walk. Virtually. Fucking virtually. Change virtually for almost able to walk. Which bit of my diagnosis did they miss? My spinal cord was severed in 2. These legs are not moving. Permanent paralysis is not being almost able to walk. What a weird thing to write. If I've missed anything and anyone knows what they meant, can you tell me? So, even when making the award, they had to give me one last kicking. Or were they planting a seed for what was to come? The word I should have been paying attention to was indefinite. My paralysis is for life, but turns out benefits, well, they were only until PIP arrived. You see, disability living allowance was doing okay, but there's only so much outrage you can manufacture about flat screen TVs and supposed benefit cheats before governments start trying to win votes. Let's be real. This is a Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Can you get these on benefits? So, out with the DLA and in with PIP, here to wheedle out the few but has ended up punishing the many. The result? Reassess everyone, millions of people. You know, there's 11 million people in the UK with a disability. Is the assumption that we're all trying to pull a fast one? Trust me, I'm not sat in this wheelchair for an all-time great practical joke. And I'm telling you, they make this stuff as difficult as possible. So people either fail, give up appealing, or die. You think that sounds harsh? Talk to any disabled person. I've just told you there's 11 million people out there with a disability. It's not hard to find one. They've all been through this process. Ask them what they think. So here I am now, today, with all of you in my living room, waiting. Trying to prove that this paralysis is the real deal. And who do I need to prove it to? Ah, you again. PIP, my nemesis. How does it taste in the mouth? Pretty bitter as it happens, and I want to spit out this PIP that's caught between my teeth, and I have to swallow it down, hold my pen, write it all down, again, 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 again. I know you've just got comfy after Morrison's, but I'm going to ask you if you can get up and come with me, and let's leave the front room again for a second. I want to take you back somewhere. Somewhere I've not let many people in. Hospital. In bed. Newly paralysed. And it is fucking ridiculous. Half of my body is riddled with the most incomprehensible pain, and the other half is just sort of lying there, like two baguettes. I spend most of my time switching between screaming in pain and stunned silence, focusing on my feet and trying to move them like some sort of mind artist, the great Paralysio. I could pull the bedsheet off like one of those blokes I mentioned earlier, but my legs would still be there. Useless. The domestic team come in to clean the room, and I am thrilled for the distraction. Nurses, doctors, physios, OTs, come on, we all know they do a fabulous job. But how often do you think about the domestic staff? They are the unsung superstars to me. They sweep themselves into the room, and they've been a constant for the 6 months I've been here. They do a bit of a clean and then, cup of tea, love. What are your plans when you leave here? That first thing you'll do when you're home. Need a cup of tea first. You could do anything after a cup of tea. It's a glorious human sound. 2 sugars, please, I reply. The answer to her other question, plans on first release. Well, don't forget I was 16, so I do what a lot of 16-year-olds do. I got my mate to ask a girl out for me from school and then watch Euro 96. She said no. And England got to the semis. I was excited at that point, but that was back before England made finals. And the camaraderie between everyone on the ward is great. We all get it. We do, you know. And I don't feel different or special or fucking inspirational. It's just normal. We are just normal. We're all going through the same thing. It's not weird. This is before Facebook and WhatsApp, before even MySpace and Friends Reunited. The bond we formed was indefinite. Indefinite. That word again. I wonder sometimes what happened to them. Every time I look at Pip, I look into her beautiful, sharpy eyes, I think of them. These people who went through ordinary actions, falling off a bicycle at traffic lights, slipping on the last step of the stairs at home, sledging in the snow. They've been given this extraordinary capacity to be resilient. I know each of them will have sat and gone through this, felt the way I do now. How many of them have sat talking to Pip and wanted her to understand, to listen? That was back when I was 16. I'm 41 now, and Pip isn't like that. Look at her, sat here with us, in front of the washing and my shit that you collect over the years. She's so haughty. Tell me, Mr. Lightbown. Do I commit to the voice or do I carry on with a new voice? I'm going to go all in. Tell me, Mr. Lightbown, why do you need this money? Why do any of you need this money? What do you possibly want to do? Dreams? 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 Don't be ridiculous. Dreams, they're for the rest of us. I'm sort of regretting that voice now, but she's annoying, isn't she? Come on. How much do you think this chair is worth? What do you think? What do you think? Anyone? Anyone? 500 quid? A grand? 2 grand? Higher? £4,500. I looked on Auto Trader and you could buy a camper van for that. A camper van. That's basically a house. So my chair is more expensive than a house. Mr. Lightbown, look, I'm on your side. Not everyone is honest, you know. We are just trying to make sure we give money to those who need it the most. How much do you need it? Do you really need it? Do you need it enough to provide an autopsy on yourself right here in front of me with a biro? Stop being hard work. Tell me about your disability, where it started, and how it impacts your life. I know what Pip wants. I know what she needs. The buzzwords, so I can get a few ticks, accumulate enough to turn points into pounds. But I'll be fucked if I'm going to make this easy. She can wait. See how she likes it. If I don't say anything, she's got nothing to write down. Actually, I do have something I want to tell you. So let's get into it. We've danced around with memories and trepidation for too long. Well, Pip, I can't get in 90% of the shops. Going on holiday is a joke. I have to book assistance for a train 24 hours ahead minimum, just so someone can leave a ramp for me to get in the carriage. And there's every chance I'll piss myself on the journey if the disabled toilet is out of order. Mr. Lightbown, I need you to stop there. This is not what we need. For this relationship to work, I need you to open up to me. Let me help you. I can see you need help, but you have to tell me what help you need. I can't guess, you know. How about the washing, bathing, toileting, cooking, getting dressed? What help and support do you need from me for those? Need. I try to remember, I was like nearly 16, so my voice is probably going to break at some point if I carry on doing Pip's voice. Anyway, Pip, you know I can do all of those things, but only because I can't rely on you. You go AWOL for years. I've had 25 years to learn how. I could show you the burn scars from the times I took a roasting dish out of the oven and placed it on my legs and then watched as my skin bubbled like pasta. Where were you then? Pip, somewhere else, doing this to somewhere else, doing this to someone else. Apparently, there is no part of you that wants to hear this. Pip, are you still listening? Of course she's not. So, you thought you were here to listen to a little performance piece, but actually, you're now a focus group, because I have had a belting idea. I think I've figured out a way around this. So, I'm thinking, what if we change things around? Let's imagine a different form. Let's imagine a kinder, fairer government. Is it a stretch? Can we do that? A form that doesn't make me want to go immediately to B&Q so that I can buy a chainsaw to shred the form into tiny pieces. This one starts off differently. There's a letter that comes with it, and it sounds kinder. It's not Pip talking, but Paula. Potential and unconditional lifetime allowance. I like Paula. Oh, she's so much fun to spend time with. She would hand deliver her letter, and when she knocks on the door, she would bring an ice cream. She'd even let me have the flake. We go for a walk through the park. It's always sunny when we're out together, and I can't help but notice just how blue and clear the sky is. Sometimes she'd suggest we do this over a gluten-free pie at the football. She'd even arrange for my team to win, and given that's Blackburn Rovers, we don't do that very often, so that's how special Paula is. And I want to tell her everything. Paula would probably be married to Gareth Southgate. Decent, likeable, knows the right thing to say. I imagine Paula writes like this. Hello, Stephen. How are you? You okay? You look like you're doing great, honestly. That grey in your hair suits you. I know it's tough some days. We're going to give you some money though, don't worry. I know you've been panicked about that. I know you've been really anxious these past few years. There's no need to be. Managing your life is expensive. We hope this helps. We absolutely don't want you to tell us about your condition again. You've done that a lot, haven't you? Like, all the time. We can just chat amongst ourselves, collect the info we need. If you've got some time though, it would be grand if you could tell us how this money would help you. We know at the moment we're asking you to aim for a PB in a marathon, but we're giving you 2 lunchboxes of custard instead of trainers. And ignored the fact you said you wanted to be an astronaut. So let's see what we can do. What will help you fill your potential? We all have it, potential. So let's get you into space. Let's treat you like a human being. Can I just hold this tape measure up against you so I can measure you for a spacesuit? Oi, focus. Absolute tool. I haven't got time for potential because I'm still too busy being angry because Paula, she doesn't exist. The Pip that has called this meeting, well, Pip doesn't care about my potential. She's distracted setting traps. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Imagine this. Imagine if just for a day I bound your hands with barbed wire and I filled you with laxatives. Just go with me on this. And then after your 7th time of going to the loo, I asked, Are you able to wipe your own backside? You'd probably say, yeah, but the pain is just so much. I can't do it anymore. The act of doing this again and again and again, it's killing me. I've rubbed my arse raw, and the thought of using the loo is unbearable. Then imagine my response is to only hear the part where you said, yes, I can wipe my backside. And yet, this is where we are, where the truth behind the answer doesn't matter, where the impact on the person is ignored. Well, that was the preamble, the sort of warm up. It's time for the main bit to begin. If only there was some sort of cue. This is it. Thank you for being here. Honestly, it means the world. I appreciate the support, because this is what this has all been building up to. My new PIP assessment. This is the bit where they would run the slow-mo Rocky style training montage, because this is the big one. We should put our tea down, get ready. Here we go. Are you ready? The door opens. He's standing in the doorway. And I'm being judged already. Did no one pay attention in the training? You should have stopped me. I should have propped it open and shouted, "Come in." Hello, Mr. Lightbown. I've gone Cockney. I thought I was going to do this as a Bristol accent. That's where I live. Let's try again. Are you Mr. Lightbown? I'm Graham, your PIP assessor. I've got some more questions about what you wrote on your application. Pip's minion. Shit. He's in the house, an invited intruder. I knew I should have built a PIP panic room. I'm immediately at a disadvantage. This house is a pair of slippers, comfortable, familiar. The one place in the world I don't feel disabled is here. And now he's there at my door, and I want to burn it to the ground, because with him here, it doesn't feel like home. It feels like the front page of the Daily Mail, and I'm a benefits cheat. I'm not falling for his shtick. He is kindly jumper, smart shoes, candy floss before the dodgems. He is tailored to say, I'm working here, but this isn't business attire. I'm on your side. Guess who he's brought with him? Pip. Out comes the clipboard. He's holding a pen. I am so very far from comfortable. So where do you think it makes sense to assess me? Out there, wandering down the high street, trying to clamber up the steps into a dentist, a cafe, reaching magic beans off a shelf? I can't do none of that. The assessment would be a piece of cake. But no, it's here, in my own home. I have gone out of my way to make sure I am as comfortable as possible here, where I need as little help as possible. But this is where Graham and Pip have come to assess my needs, and this is just wrong. Paula would never come into my home. Graham comes in, he sits on the sofa. I stay in my chair. His V-neck jumper screams M&S, but this feels more S&M. There's welt marks on my skin caused by the blow from each question. Mr. Lightbown, tell me about a regular day. How do you use the bathroom? What help do you need around the house? It'd be lush if you told me how you make a cup of tea. How do you do the washing? Clever thing. Tell me about your care routine. All the stuff that goes on here in your house. This is the 756th time I've heard and answered these questions. They want consistency. I think of the advice my solicitor gave me all those years ago in Morrison's. Stephen, come on. Remember a bad day. Remember a day when you're in bed and you can't get up or do anything. Don't forget those days. They happen all the time. And I feel myself getting sadder and sadder. What am I doing here? Why am I giving these questions the time of day? I was awarded benefits for life. You can see perfectly well nothing has changed other than I'm older, greyer, and the pain is so much worse. No. No. Graham, I'm not going to answer your questions. Instead, I'll tell you this. You know, I'm something of an expert on hot chocolate. If you want it extra hot, heat the milk to 71.1 degrees Celsius, but no more. That powder is better than syrup, that it tastes so much better outside. That some believe it dates back more than 2,000 years. That my dream is to set up a small business and sell hot chocolate out the back of an old Morris minor at Perranporth Beach to surfers. Be there, 6 a.m, set up as the sun rises and people run down to the water. Maybe I'm wearing a thick cable knit jumper. Maybe have a surf myself on an adapted surfboard. Maybe I've got a little small border terrier called Walnut. Oh, Walnut. That this is more realistic than wanting to bodyboard to the moon. Graham, do you want to know any of this? Or do you just want to watch me fill the kettle up and you tick one of your patronising little boxes? He ignores me. He carries on. Mr. Lightbown. That accent's gone again, hasn't it? Where's Bristol? Mr. Lightbown, do you need any help taking medication or managing your finances? How about planning a journey? More welt marks. Do you want a hot chocolate? He smiles. No, he says. Then he writes something on the clipboard. There's a few more questions, but I can't take any more welts. So I tell him what he needs to hear. I tell them about the times I'm so ill I can't get out of bed. I tell them about the pain I feel morning to night in every limb, every day of the year. I tell them about the help I need to put the washing away, carry shopping from the car, change a light bulb, put the bins out until finally I no longer feel like me. I'm the person they need me to be. I'm the label people see before they see a husband, a son, a brother, a cook, a lover, follower of football, literature fan, beach addict, a dog and cat person, swallower of cheese on toast. Disabled. He stands. Of course he fucking stands. Just extra salt in the wound. And they leave with their clipboard and ticks. It wasn't an assessment, it was a torture trial. The best bit, I failed, or in their eyes, did I pass? For context, this is a couple of things that they sent back to me in my assessment. Stephen, you're able to, I see, transfer from your chair to a commode. Stephen, I see you're able to open the cooker door and take a meal out. Stephen, I see you can put shopping in the fridge. Stephen, I see you can bundle socks up into a washing basket. Stephen, you said you're on social media. There you go. You've got a very nice community you're part of, don't you? Clever boy. and they reduced my allowance. And I'm still angry. And my independence, my resilience, these legs, my ability to survive at the day in the snow and a blue plastic sledge, and the fact I know I'm going to have to appeal more forms, more accepting this is it, spending every day fighting against my disability, only to have to double down, embrace it, maybe even embellish it and wring every bit of heartache out onto a page just to get their approval. Another assessment, another series of potential disappointments. And I realise, like it's just come to me, that my wheelchair and all of this will only stop when I am asleep in the ground. You remember I said I wanted to be an astronaut? Well, space is somewhere up there. This down here with Pip, that is my reality. Dear Mr. Lightbown, if only you'd let me help. Stop it, Pip. Just stop it, please. Because I am tired. I want my potential back. Do you know what's daft? Even after all that, there's a chance you might still be waiting there for my answer. You know, that question I asked at the start, or maybe the question you were asking about why the chair? Well, I've already told you, catwalk model, used to model underwear, was pretty successful until I fell in the sea during a show on Scarborough Pier. Do you believe me? I can't see any chili sauce on your chin. Maybe you're the good guys. Go on. We've built a rapport. I trust you. Ask the question. But then I've got to stop because this is exhausting. And I need to know where I get off. Because my life and the 11 million others going through this is so much more than forms and wrong answers we can't revise for. This is what I am trying to help you understand. So now I am asking you, help me. Because if you're looking at the chair, you're not looking at me, and this has been a waste of time, and you can get out of my house. Reinforce the view of disability, or recognise that my story is continually evolving. A child, a young man, an accident, university, career, a marriage, a divorce, another marriage, mortgage, babies in bumps, holidays, Christmas turkeys, the bits in between. This is what me and Paula would talk about. Because life is transitional, and it always will be. But there has to be a better way of helping people to the next bit. And yet Pip seems determined to keep bringing it back to how do I take a shit. It has to be more than that. It has to be. I mean, come on, at least you could ask how I take a shit in space. So let me ask you and finish with one last question. Is this even a priority? Do we need to make it one? Is it really, really, really that big a deal? Because honestly, I'm interested. What do you think? And why change it when Pip tells you, I can't be trusted?